Hi there, it's Jen from modernmedicinelady.com and the Empathic Woman System, and the word of the day is lightwash. And this is a term that I've been hearing recently in regards to a phenomenon that sometimes happens in the spiritual world, in the New Age world, in the self-help and personal development world. And it is essentially a phenomenon of what could also be called spiritual bypass, where when something comes up, when there's something really difficult or challenging or painful or uncomfortable, instead of being present to it, instead of acknowledging it and addressing it and dealing with it, lightwashing is just going straight for the positive and just basically ignoring all of the stuff that's underneath the surface. And while sometimes I actually do think that ignoring things can be helpful, like for example, when it comes to a mosquito bite, we all know that scratching an itch often makes it worse, and that the best thing you can do is just kind of like be like, okay, there's an itch, I'm not going to scratch it. But when it comes to a lot of other kinds of issues and pain and discomfort and challenges, the thing is that when we just bypass it, when we just ignore it, a lot of times it's still underneath the surface and it really needs to be addressed. It really needs to be healed. And when we sort of coat it with this veneer of happy, happy, joy, joy, and put all kinds of affirmations on the top of it and just beam light right at it and just think positivity about stuff, what can happen is that it creates even more of a tension and a pressure between the part of us that is uncomfortable about being uncomfortable and just wants to go straight for the happy and the light, where with the other part of us that is actually uncomfortable and experiencing pain. And a lot of times what will happen is we might be able to push it down and suppress it, but over time, what is down underneath the surface is starting to fester even more and more. It's starting to build up even more and more until at a certain point, it just kind of erupts and explodes. And there we have this even bigger, painful mess to deal with than if we had just dealt with it in the first place. So you've heard the saying, no mud, no lotus. I would say that's what this is really about. Now, I was working with a very dear client of mine a little while ago who is just an incredible, incredible human being and who is a survivor, who has just been through a lot of stuff. And we were talking about lightwashing, and in particular, what we were talking about was how, especially as they're going through a really difficult time right now, they get these people who say things like, well, why don't you just be positive about it? Like, just be more positive. And, you know, yes, being positive can be helpful, but being positive at the expense of acknowledging what's really going on is not the point. And in my experience, more often than not, when something is coming up that needs to be dealt with, it's because it needs to be healed. It's because it needs to be addressed. It's because it's something that is not quite working for us anymore. And most of the time, the discomfort is a message to us that there is something that needs to be shifted or adjusted. And being willing to sit with the pain, being willing to show up for the discomfort, being willing to just acknowledge it and address it and spend some time just examining it and accepting that it's there can have incredible, incredible results in our life in a way that just trying to bypass and avoid often does not. Because when we bypass and ignore, we just completely bypass the roots. We bypass the issue that's underneath the surface. We bypass what's really going on. And we also bypass the incredibly important message that our body or our mind or even our circumstances are trying to tell us about what could be different or what could be healed or what could be shifted in our life. So my question to you right now is, Is there anything going on in your life right now that you're just kind of so uncomfortable with that you just want to resist it, that you just don't even want to look at it, that you just want to bypass it and go straight to the positivity? And one, would you be willing to consider looking at it? And two, what if you were going to look at it, if you were going to listen to it, if you were going to feel into it and examine it and spend some time just being present with it, maybe even just accepting that it is what it is, what do you think its message would be for you? What do you think it's trying to tell you? What is it asking of you? So I would love to hear what you have to say about all of this. Please leave a comment below. And until next word of the day, I am wishing you peace. I am wishing you ease. And I am wishing you the willingness to be willing to just be present with what is. And in the meantime, if you would be interested in having more support for sitting with all of this kind of discomfort stuff, particularly if you are a highly sensitive and empathic person, then please go to my website, modernmedicinelady.com, check out the Work With Me section, and I would love to talk with you. So, until tomorrow, I'm wishing you peace.